Hi there, and thanks for tuning in. Today's notes are going to be lesson 3.4, graphing linear functions in standard form. You do need graph paper for these notes, and you will need graph paper for the homework assignment as well, so just make sure you have those things available. We are going to be writing 7 things down today in our notes. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to know is what is standard form, and standard form looks like this. ax plus by is equal to c, where a, b, and c are all real numbers. A and B are not both 0, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to graph anything. If A is 0, then the equation would be by is equal to c, and then likewise if b is equal to 0, then the equation would be ax is equal to c. Go ahead now and take time to pause the video here so you can write down what you see on this screen, and then once you're done, click play so we can see how it's done. The next thing we want to just realize really quickly is how to graph horizontal and vertical lines. If you have a graph where y is equal to something, it's going to be a horizontal line, and you can pass through the point 0, b, so that'd be 0, the x would be 0, and the b would just be a number on the y axis. The same thing is true for if you plot a point on the x-axis will create a vertical line, and that line will pass through the point a, 0, where a is a number on the x-axis and 0 is the y-intercept. Let's go ahead and take time now, or not the y-intercept, but 0 movement on the y-axis. Let's go ahead and take the time now to pause and just show what both of these graphs look like in your notes, and make sure you include x is equal to a, y is equal to b, and what it looks like. Once you're done, click play so you can see what's next. So with these two, we're just going to graph them. The first example is a y is equal to 4. So what I would do is I would find the y-axis, which is always the vertical one, and I would count up 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. So once I have my point, I then just create a horizontal line like you just wrote down in your notes for number 2, and that would be what you would need to do there. For this one, it says letter B, x is equal to -2, so I'd find -2 on the x-axis, which is the horizontal axis, and then once I find that point, I'm just going to make a vertical line, and that vertical line will show where x is equal to. So really quickly, the points here are 0, 4 for the first one, where y is equal to 4. And then over here, this point is -2, 0, where x is equal to -2. Okay, so you make sure you want to include those things too after you graph. Here are 2 that you're going to try. So these are numbers 3 and 4 in your notes. You don't have to have such a large graph, just enough to cover and graph these 2 points. So let's go ahead and pause the video now so you can try 3 and 4, and then once you're done, click play. So for letter Y, we're just going to find -2.5 on the y-axis, so you just go down 2.5, plot your point, and then with a horizontal line, you would show where that y value is. We can go ahead and say that this is 0, -2.5 as the point, where y is equal to -2.5. For number 4, we would just find x is equal to 5 on the x-axis. Remember, that's the horizontal one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We would just plot that point and then make a vertical line so we can say here I am, here's x is equal to 5. That point would be 5, 0, where x is equal to 5. So make sure you have both of those things, including the points and x is equal to this or y is equal to that for 3 and 4. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to use x-intercepts to graph equations. There is a lot of stuff on here, but I basically want to make sure you just understand the bottom 2 things. Whenever you have an x-intercept of a graph, the x-coordinate of a point, and that just crosses the x-axis. It occurs when y is equal to 0, and then on the flip side, the y-intercept of a graph is the y-coordinate of a point where the graph crosses the y-axis, and it occurs when x is equal to 0, so that when you have these intercepts, you can plot the 2 points and then make a graph. Here is mainly what I want you to get from this page. To find the x-intercept, you'll replace y with equal to 0 and then solve for x. And then likewise, if you want to find the y-intercept, just make x be 0 so you can solve for y. Let's go ahead and pause here so you can write down what you see on the screen, mainly this last part right here, and then once you're done, click play so you can see how it's done. Alright, so it says use intercepts to graph the equation, find the x and the y intercept. So to find the x intercept, I'm going to say that y is equal to 0. So I just use this equation in standard form, 3x plus 4, and instead of y I'm going to do 4 times 0 is equal to 12. 4 times 0 is 0, so that basically cancels out and I get 3x is equal to 12. And then when I solve for x is equal to 4. So I'm going to go ahead and plot x is equal to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's my x-intercept, okay? And that would be 4, 0. Then my y-intercept, I'll do that here on the left screen. 3 for my y-intercept, I would need x to be equal to 0. So instead of 3x, I'm going to say 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 12. 3 times 0 is just 0, so that cancels out. So I have 4y equals 12. And when I divide both sides by 4 to get y by itself, I get y is equal to 3. So I'll go up to 3 on the graph. This is point 0, 3. Now that I have these 2 points, I can go ahead and connect the points. And now I've just made my graph using the x and y intercepts in standard form. Okay? So here's one that you're going to try. Again, you're going to find the x and the y intercepts to plot the points. So let's go ahead and pause the video here so you can try it by yourself. And then once you're done, click play to check your work. Alright, so for number 6, we have this equation in standard form, 2x minus y is equal to 4. Let's go ahead and find the x-intercept, and that would just mean that y is equal to 0. So I'd have 2x minus 0 equals 4. Really, 2x minus 0 is just 2x, so 2x is equal to 4. And then when I solve for x will be equal to 2. So I'm going to go and plot that point. Here's x is equal to 2, that is 2, 0. For the y-intercept, I just need to make sure that x is equal to 0, and then I solve for y. So 2 times 0 minus y equals 4. 2 times 0 is just 0, so I have minus y is equal to 4, but I can't have a negative y, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. So y is equal to negative 4. So I just come down here on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is 0, negative 4 as my intercept. And then I would just connect my 2 points here. Okay, so that would be your answer. For this last one, for number 7, it is a word problem. And it says you're planning an awards banquet for your school. You need to rent tables to seat 180 people. Tables come in 2 sizes. Small tables seat 6 people, large would seat 10. In the equation, so here's your standard form equation, 6x plus 10y is equal to 180, where x is the number of small tables and y is the number of large tables. It says to graph the equation and then interpret the intercept. So you're basically still going to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept and then graph it and then interpret it. So what would that mean when x is equal to 0, and what does that mean when y is equal to 0? Let's go ahead and pause the video here so you can try it by yourself, and once you're done, click play to check your work. Alright, so for the x-intercept, I need y equal 0, so I'll have 6x plus 10, parentheses 0 is equal to 180. That's basically just going to give me 6x is equal to 180, and then when I divide both sides by 6, I get x is equal to 30. So since I don't have 30 dots here, I might would just use them as 10, so here's 10, 20, and this is 30, just so I don't have to make a huge graph. For the y-intercept, I need x equals 0, so 6 times 0 plus 10y is equal to 180. That's basically 10y equals 180, and then I divide both sides by 10, y is equal to 18. So up here I'll have 10, 20, so it'll be right here. So that's really kind of close together, but your graph should look very similar to that. And then when you interpret the intercepts, basically that is just saying if I use 0 large tables, I have 30 small. And then likewise, if I use 0 small tables, I have 18 large. So whatever you don't use of one, you use of the other. That was all it was asking you to do. That's going to conclude our notes today on lesson 3.4. Just make sure you have all your 7 things written down, and we'll catch you next time when you tune in. Bye! Bye!